Welcome everyone. I'm Kathy Maher. I'm the director of the Barnum Museum here in wonderful downtown Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we're so excited that you're joining us for another one of our episodes of Who Is Barnum to You. It is a program where we like to welcome the community, people who have been influenced by Barnum's impacts through the course of their lives, through history, through their times growing up in Bridgeport, or really coming into the city and learning how much of Barnum's influence still carries on today. An important part of what the Barnum Museum does, as well as every museum across this country, is we cherish the communities we serve. The people literally in our back door. The Barnum Museum is an international museum where people come or contact us from all over the world. But the heart and soul of the Barnum Museum is here in our region. And what we love to do is welcome and collaborate and partner with colleague institutions, businesses, and it's what makes us relevant and meaningful in today's society. So today, with us, I am thrilled to welcome a professional friend as well as a personal friend, Kim Burgess, who is the senior consultant for VCL Consulting Services. And what Kim actually does through this program is seek out and train extraordinary people in our underserved community. What's interesting about Bridgeport, it is in Fairfield County, Connecticut, barely an hour out of New York. And it is the largest state in Connecticut and actually the most underserved in the state of Connecticut as well. And through our program, through Kim's program, we recognize that the people in Bridgeport are extraordinary. It is a rich cultural resource of ideas, innovative people, courageous people who are seeking opportunities beyond the walls of, the general area, and trying to find pathways to better themselves through their careers and through their personal lives. So with that, I want to welcome Kim, and we can talk a little bit about how we met and how we're going to work together in the future as the Barnum Museum revives itself in downtown. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. What a tremendous introduction. I need to take that. I love the fact that you talked about the extraordinary people that are here in our great city of Bridgeport and just need the opportunity. So thank you so much for having me with you this morning. We met doing some community service volunteer work.
Yes, we did.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, really, when you think about especially underserved communities, there are so many opportunities for volunteerism. And so we got together through the city of Bridgeport as they were celebrating, wasn't their 200th?
So it was Bridgeport Strong. Yes, it was a milestone in Bridgeport's long history. Yeah.
Yes. And we collaborated.
Yep.
And we did a great series of projects throughout this city. And then you and I stayed connected.
Yes.
It was something about the twinkle in your eye.
It was, and it was interesting too, because it was through Zoom.
Yeah.
And this was the COVID epic. So we really met through little tiny boxes on a screen. And then as the world opened up a little more, we had the opportunity to actually get together and really engage. What do you do with tell me more about VLC, and then how can we find, ways to collaborate to move the museum's agenda forward and to help the people, or give the people that you serve a place to land in the future. And that's where all these ideas came from. So tell us a little bit about one of the most remarkable programs, your SEAT program, which is coming up.
Yeah.
So please tell everybody about what this is. And so many people who are watching this could actually model this or contact you about creating a SEAT program in their own communities.
Absolutely. So thank you for this amazing opportunity. So VCL Consulting Group in general provides training to empower underserved communities and nonprofit organizations who serve those communities. So we've been doing this a long time. However, the SEAT program just began in 2021, and it was kind of almost by accident. I served as on board of directors of multiple boards here in Bridgeport as well as other cities, and I recognize the lack of diversity, not only in terms of racial, but also gender. It was very difficult for me to really excel in my leadership because I was so often oppressed by those who were currently serving on the board, which the majority of board members, as you well know, are white males. And so it was very challenging. So once I completed my last tenure, I said, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to go on a paid board and get paid for my aggravation, or I'm going to create a program for my community. And I have not turned back since. And the momentum that has happened as a result of the SEAT program is utterly amazing.
Could you just tell everybody what the SEAT acronym stands for so they are familiar with that?
Sure. So it's Skills, Educate, Act, and Transform. And with all of the training that we provide, we believe our training should lead to action. We don't just train so you can get information and go about your way. We train with the expectation that you're going to go to work with this. So whether it's training for professional development, we expect that you will implement the skills that we've taught. And with our SEAT program, it's board service. So that's one of the questions that we ask on our application. Are you willing to commit to volunteer nonprofit board service? Because that's our expectation. So primarily our goal is to train Black and Latino community residents, largely from marginalized areas, to serve on nonprofit boards as first-time board members, right? The challenge that I hear often from nonprofit organizations is that we want to diversify, but where do we get the candidates? And so the SEAT program actually helps to bridge that gap. Not only do we train and qualify extraordinary people from various communities to serve on nonprofit boards, but then we introduce them to nonprofit organizations who are really ready to diversify. To date, since we've been doing it since 2021, 70% of our graduates have been recruited by nonprofit boards. That is huge for a program that has only been operating for 4 years. And particularly in this political climate, this work is even more important than it was last year. And we are super excited that we're partnering with the Barnum Museum for the first time doing our SEAT program. We're going to be hosting it here on Thursday, beginning Thursday, January 30th. And I can't wait for people to see what's happening in the Barnum Museum.
And part of our conversations moving to this point today was the Barnum Museum is getting very close, to reopening its doors. We're still recovering from the tornado and Hurricane Irene and Superstorm Sandy, and COVID. So our construction it really has momentum. We're moving forward. But what I realized a couple of years ago was at the end of the day, I can't, run the gift shop and run the guest relations and run the museum. It's like, I need a robust staff. And there are extraordinary people in this community who don't know jobs in the arts, culture, entertainment, tourism industry, the hospitality industries is available to them. And what this part of the world kind of suffers from is pigeonholing youth towards manufacturing jobs. All great, but that's not for everybody.
Right.
Tech jobs aren't for everybody. It wouldn't have been for me. I would have been like, no way, as a young person growing up in New York. But there are youth, and so it's not just high school, college. This could be people in their 20s trying to find their way forward. And it's like, oh my gosh, I could work in a museum. I didn't know that was possible. So working with you, the idea is to bring these people here, expose them certainly to leadership positions, and then there might be some people that say it's like, oh, I never considered a job in history, or the sciences, or even the hospitality industry, and there are incredible universities in the region where we are planning to partner with, so we can, find people, mine from our own, community here, find these people, help them get into university programs, maybe with scholarships, then they have a job at the Barnum Museum.
Yes.
In curatorial, in digital curation, technology in museums, audio, visual. There's a million different types of opportunities that museums actually can offer. And here you are with the direct link to the people that we are so excited to meet.
That is amazing, and we can't wait until the museum actually opens to the public. You and I have talked about creating a workforce training and development so that the level of customer service is par excellence. When I think about customer service, the most memorable experiences are those who I first encounter, right? So that makes a huge difference. And as you said, Bridgeport is rich in terms of people who really want to do well, but the opportunities, they one of two things. They're not aware that they're available, or they're not exposed to them. So I think when you get ready to open these doors wide open and engage the residents of Bridgeport community, and you mentioned the youth, but the other thing that I thought about is some of our seniors.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I had a conversation with a senior the other day who just recently retired, and I said, "So how's retirement going?" And he said, "I am bored."
Oh my gosh.
So someone who loves history, who loves culture, and just wants to be able to represent well would be another great person to include in the workforce.
You're absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right, because you're retired doesn't mean that you just sit around doing nothing anymore. You want your mind to be engaged. And that is another part of it. So the workforce development also includes the volunteer corps. Mm-hmm. That museums always have extraordinary people who volunteer because they love engaging with people.
Yeah.
And the line that we always used that was Barnum's, we have his handwriting saying, "The noblest art is that of making others happy." Mm. And that's really going to be our job. Mm-hmm. Anybody who comes into the Barnum Museum, our job is to welcome them into our home. Yeah. In a sense, and do, for them. So the idea is to create this workforce of community members who are, more than a team. It's a culture, of hospitality and family and engagement and learning that we can, pass forward to everybody who comes here. And we want people to come back, too, Yes. I mean, that keeps everybody engaged, whether they're employees or volunteers or board members, and most certainly every single guest that comes in. I mean, we are expecting, based on our studies, to have over 200,000 people from all over the world come to Bridgeport. And our ambassadors, I want to really be our regional Bridgeport community, and, and having them be here, work with you on the training so they understand what it's like to be. So I will go through the training. This is one thing that we've laughed at. I need to go through that training. I have had a hard hat on for years now, and it's like, I know how to run a construction, site. Uh-huh. But how, we're going to be opening something that's completely unexplored for the Barnum Museum at this time. And we need our community, to help us do that.
And what you're creating, and I know your vision because we've sat down many times over coffee and sometimes a meal, talking about the vision that you had for the museum. And it's so important to create that culture and bring people in and introduce them to the culture, because you have some people who have had very different experiences and want to bring that experience into your culture, and it doesn't work. So the fact that you are laying the foundation from the very, very beginning is extremely important. And the success that you're going to achieve from that, not only as the museum continues to grow, but as people continue to grow, it's going to make a major impact in the city of Bridgeport. I mean, heck, you're right off of 95. Oh, yeah. Who's not going to stop by after they hear all of the amazing things that are going on at the museum. And can I just take a moment to say thank you for your endurance and commitment to seeing this through? Because when I first moved to Bridgeport, which was in 2011, I didn't know anything about the museum other than the fact that it was a historic site who experienced extreme damage, and that was it. It wasn't even, I knew nothing.
Right.
I knew nothing. But watching you after we met, watching you in the trenches, making sure that this was always on the map and that it was in the forefront of not only local people, the city of Bridgeport, but also the state of Connecticut is amazing. Many people would have walked away, Kathy.
Well,
so you are to be commended.
yeah, well, thank you. Bob Rogers, who is actually, he's a former Disney Imagineer, but BRC Imagination Arts, who are our team helping us create this vision, make this vision of the Barnum Museum a reality. He looked at me and says, "You got no quitting sense," because you can't. And it's honestly, you'd think I owned it was my own, but I believe.
But you have ownership.
I have ownership,
and that's the mentality that everybody who comes and works with, for, or volunteer needs to have. Ownership, because when you have the ownership mentality, you take excellent care of it.
That's so kind of you to say. That's so kind of you to say. And a big part of what drives me forward is that I believe in this place, I believe in this community, and it can be a game changer for so many lives, and for the city itself. All communities all over the country, all over the world, celebrate their local museum. And they're so important, and it's a point of pride. So when you have guests coming in, it's like, we gotta go to the museum, or the zoo, or the whatever you have, the historical society. Because that gives you a sense of, this is who we are. This is what I can do to enrich your life when you come to my place. And I feel that way about the Barnum Museum. Everybody in this community and the surrounding region deserves to have this museum back. And there's no quit. What's what Yoda said, right? No try, do. So that's what, that's really what drives me forward. It's the people here that inspire me and are rooting for the Barnum Museum. It has not been easy. It has not been easy. But it's a dedication. And it's not just me. I stand on the shoulders of extraordinary people, the people on our board, the small but mighty staff that work here, even the people producing this, they're extraordinary, and they rally with me and charge forward. And we're very fortunate to have great leaders in town sponsoring this, the production of our YouTube. We want to thank M&T Bank, City of Bridgeport, State of Connecticut for helping support these. Every time we do one of these educational or informative programs, they are there, alongside us, making sure we're continuing to deliver, even through the challenges. We continue to deliver.
And M&T is a great partner. They are also one of our sponsors. Yes, they are our premier sponsor for our Bridgeport seat cohort, and actually they've supported us since inception.
That's wonderful to know. Yes, and their corporate headquarters for the region is attached to the historic Barnum Museum. So we're very grateful to them, and you'll see their logo at the end of this video. So we do tip our hat to them because they enable us both to do what we do.
Right, and it's amazing to have sponsors and partners who see the collaborative efforts of the work that we're doing, because I'm doing the SEED program, I'm training people, you're doing the Barnum Museum, and you're helping to educate people and provide opportunity for enrichment through work and volunteerism. But at the end of the day, it's all to support the city that we live in.
That's it.
Right? and to encourage our community to take advantage of the amazing assets that we have. And we couldn't do that work without our sponsors. So we're tremendously grateful for all the nonprofit organizations that trust us, right, to train and skill up board members. And again, to people like you, our sponsors, that help us make this work possible.
Yeah, no, that is wonderful. And, on behalf of the Barnum Museum and the Bridgeport community, we are so grateful for the work that you do. It is important, and you've enriched many lives, and it's going to change this community for sure. So with that, Kim, thank you so much for being here. This was a joy, and I look forward. We got a lot of work to do, you and me, so we'll be talking soon.
Lunch next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody. Please, if there's a seat program that you might be interested, you can get that information in the description below. You'll be able to contact Kim directly and maybe sign up for a future program to take. And actually, Kim has expanded out. There are a few other towns that she's been having seat programs, New Haven, Hartford, and actually even Philadelphia. So going in a broad direction with seat, and it's been so successful. So please hit subscribe if you're not one of our subscribers. If you're here for the first time, thank you so much for being with us. And again, reach out to the Barnum Museum if you ever have a question. We look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much. Here's to a great 2025 ahead.